Coming up on this episode of We're No Damn Experts, we are talking with the newly elected mayor of Great Falls. You'll hear all about his law enforcement background, and boy, does this man love Great Falls. Hear all about his passion for this community and why you should come visit. Coming up.
Best damn podcast, the best damn town. You want to get up, get ready to get down. With its big wide sky and the wild river Thames, if you want to go, we can take you there to Great Falls, Montana.
Welcome to the greatest damn town in Montana, Great Falls. I'm Rebecca Ingham.
I'm Shannon Newth.
And we're No Damn Experts. I am excited about today's guest, Shannon.
Sometimes I wonder what word you're going to use when you pause like that.
Yeah. Well, you have to really think through and be intentional about what you want to do. And normally I wouldn't be concerned talking to the mayor of our city. But since this one has a law enforcement background.
You do have a interesting background when we've had anybody on that has anything to do with law enforcement.
The questions I come up with are inappropriate.
Put you on a list.
Best. Mm-hmm. So who's here, Shannon?
Well, we will learn all about his law enforcement background, but it is our newly elected Mayor, Cory Reeves. Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me.
Welcome to our space.
Thank you.
I feel like I need in our fancy new system like the da 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 da.
Well, we can add that.
Yeah.
We have the applause button, and you didn't want to use it.
That's true. I didn't this time.
Yeah.
We'll ease into the new system.
So, folks, just so you know, I don't know if you're going to hear anything different.
Hopefully
because
it sounds better.
I have no idea. But we've got a whole new system set up. I shouldn't say whole new. I would say 85% of our system is new.
We have upgraded into some new technology, which I'm really excited about.
I don't see much of a difference yet, but
it's okay.
Jason will freak out if he hears that. But so far, I'm excited because I've removed some of the clutter off of our beautiful table that Maudie created for us.
Yes.
So let's get into actual stuff. No rambling from me anymore. Cory, will you start off by telling us about you? Your social security number, date of birth, all the things we normally ask.
Absolutely.
Your history with the community, how long you've been here, all those fun things.
Yeah, so I've been here my whole life.
Great Falls boy.
I moved here when I was 1.5, 2 years old.
That counts.
So I've been here my whole life. And it's because I love Great Falls, quite frankly.
Perfect.
Grew up here, obviously, like I said. I graduated from Great Falls High School.
Okay.
The right side of the river. And
oh, boy, you got to be careful saying that now.
And once I graduated high school, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with life. I either was going to be a cop or I was going to be a pastor. But I swore too much, so I probably thought I probably should go do the pastor thing.
You could you reach people, though.
You can reach
that.
You can,
So,
absolutely.
I had a pastor growing up that smoked and did shots and cussed more than anyone
awesome.
I
That
would know.
explains
That would have been
And
me
then,
as
like-
a pastor.
Like he would wrap up the service. He's like, all right, I'll see everybody over at the bar for coffee. And so we'd walk over the street to the bar for coffee, and he wasn't drinking coffee.
Yep.
And it's like
You're
10
also
o'clock
from
in
a
the
town
morning.
of like 5 people, so the bar is the only place you could go.
That part wasn't weird.
Okay.
Doing shots of whiskey
With your pastor.
With the
at
pastor.
10 a.m.
Yeah.
on Sunday, a little
odd. True.
And then about like 11:30 when he, goes out for a smoke break, and you're like, he's like, you want one? I'm like, no, I don't think
This
that's
feels
a bonding thing. So you do your thing.
So you could have been both in her
Yeah,
town.
I know, right? Yeah.
So you
I went
chose law enforcement.
Yeah, so I went to college at the university. Then it was the University of Great Falls.
Okay.
Which is now known as University of Providence. Got my undergraduate degree in criminal justice, and then kicked off my law enforcement career.
Wow.
So,
and I may be making this up, but I think you've done city and county level law enforcement.
I have. So I did 20 years and 10 months with the city.
Holy moly.
And then I did about one term, 4 years. I was the Sheriff Slaughter and I were elected in 2018. We took office in 2019. I did one term up there, and then in July of 22 as the undersheriff, and then July of 2022 is when I said 25 years is enough. Time to close that chapter. And I had a wonderful time. But being the undersheriff was a very, very demanding job, 7 days a week, and I truly went to work at 3 a.m. every day. Got home 6:37 at night. It just for life, it was not the best home life. So
that'll wear you out quickly.
And it did. So I had a wonderful time. But yeah, it was a wonderful career in law enforcement. And like I said, I think I wanted to serve a community that I grew up in and that I truly love.
Folks, you can't see an actual picture of Mayor Reeves, but I'm surprised you spent that long in law enforcement. I was thinking maybe it was 15.
No, 25.
That's a
So
long
you're
time.
saying he looks young. Yeah.
Oh, I just turned
get
47
that as well.
last month. I just turned 47.
Good genetics.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, law enforcement to a career now as the mayor.
Yeah.
What prompted that brilliant move? I mean, similar tactics and all, but.
So I retired in July of 22, like I said, from law enforcement. And about 7-8 months later, I knew elections were coming around. And I'd heard through the grapevine that Mayor Kelly was going to retire. And I really respect Mayor Kelly. I didn't want to run against him. So when I heard that he was going to retire, I reached out to him and he said, I am done. Please keep that on the down low right now. So that's why I thought, again, I love this town. It sounds so cheesy to some people, but there's a passion about it. And I thought, how can I contribute in another way to our community and try and make a difference? And I'm pretty progressive with some of my ideas and growth and things like that I want to see happen also. So I put my name forward, and it was a crowded field. If you guys recall, there were 4 people. So it was tiring because it's a lot, to run for office. I did with the sheriff, but he was on the ballot, not me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And this time I was on the ballot. So come election night, it's kind of funny, as you guys probably recall. Everywhere else in the state of Montana is getting their results, but not Great Falls, Montana.
Yeah, I remember the election.
So at like midnight, when we still didn't know anything, I said, it's in God's hands. I'm out. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And so I went to bed, and then about 5:15 in the morning, my wife wakes me. She's like, Cory. And I'm out of it. She's like, you won. I'm like, really? I did? Are you sure?
Is this a dream?
Down there? Yeah.
So then I thought, oh boy, now things are going to get real.
Yeah.
So
I am curious, so how you would describe the role as mayor and maybe how that's changed in the short time you've been in office of what that job entails.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. First and foremost, people confuse city commission and county commission quite frequently. County commission runs the business of the county. We as city commission run the business of the city. And the county commissioners are paid a nice salary of $78,000 a year. People also think we make that.
You're loaded.
I'm here to tell you, I'm dead serious when I tell you this. I get a $468 a month stipend. After taxes, I take home $53.76 a month.
And I don't think that's actually been increased in
since the
ever.
early 1990s is when these were set. I spend $50
penance.
a
You're in
week
it
filling
for the
up my
money.
pit.
Yeah.
Right. So it's no one is in this for the money. It's as far as city and county or city commission. It's just I lose money because, like I said, I spend $50 a month filling up my pickup,
gas,
running
to
to all the meetings
all
week, and it's just so I'm definitely not in for the money. But the other misconception is that the mayor can come in basically and wave a magic wand and make all these things happen.
Yeah.
And that's not the way our government is set up. Our government is set up with a city manager commission relationship. So Greg Doyen, the city manager, is my only employee. He's the only the city employees answer to Greg. So like your chief of police, your fire chief, things like that, they answer to Greg, and then Greg answers to us as the commission. So I don't have any special powers. I don't have veto powers. I'm just one vote, just like my 4 other colleagues. And,
But you have the preponderance of the work because the mayor is the one that has to start and run the meeting.
Yep, so we do. I run all the meetings. That is that's really the only difference is I set the agendas for our meetings. I run our meetings. I do all of our ceremonial events around town, things like that. Otherwise, I'm as equal to my colleagues on the commission. So
Interesting.
we're in Missoula. They have a very strong mayor. The mayor is the city manager, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she makes $124,000 a year.
Whew.
Yep.
Oh.
But she is the boss.
Did you propose that to the rest
Yeah,
of the commission?
right. Yeah,
My first
yeah.
act as
I'm
mayor.
thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, since we are facing a budget deficit, I probably just shouldn't ask for a pay
Not right
raise.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesnn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, right.
People get real good at saying no to me a lot. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, it's called a part-time position, if you will. I'm not sure how being mayor is part-time. You're always have your mayor cap
It absolutely is full time.
Yeah.
It's not public yet, but I will be starting. So I get a nice pension from retiring from law enforcement, so that has helped.
Helps survive.
Yeah, it's helped, exactly, keep a roof over our head. But I am going to have to. I still have twin boys that are sophomores in high school. I still got to get them through college. I got my oldest through college already and through her master's program, but
my
I still got to
goodness.
get these two, out the door and pay for their schooling. So I am going to start a new job probably the end of this month, first part of April. I'm really super excited about it, but
are we able to say the name? Is this going to be a breaking news episode?
I can't say
Okay.
yet.
That's fine.
But it's going to be awesome. And 10 of my years as a law enforcement officer, I was a school resource officer, and I worked in the schools. My school was Great Falls High in Paris, and those were truly the best 10 years of my life. I absolutely loved working with youth. They could be challenging, but I realized very quickly how many kids didn't have an opportunity that probably us three had growing up, and they just needed some tough love sometimes. So I can tell you this job that I'm going to be doing down the road is going to be working with those children.
Nice.
Yes.
Look at that.
Seems
And what's
appropriate.
really cool is the employer recognizes that I'm the mayor and is going to afford me a lot of flexibility to still, because I need to be present for the people. They elected me. I need to be available to them. But I'll have a lot of flexibility. And so I'm going to be even more tired. But that's okay. I still have a lot of grit and tenacity, and I like to stay busy.
I feel like that's a poll you have to have when you're applying for the job. Like, look, I'm also the mayor, so
Yes.
that's got to come first.
Kind of a big
So-
deal here. I want you to know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that it's going to offer you some flexibility because one of the things that we really require out of our mayor here from the travel space, Mayor Kelly did really well, which is when people listen to our podcast and they get excited about Great Falls and they want to move here, Mayor Kelly just volunteers to get on planes and fly to North Carolina and take them to have coffee. So, just plan that into
He
your
obviously
life
has a
as
different
well.
checkbook than
Yeah,
I do.
right? Yeah.
The
missed out
background
on
to that story is he was going there already. And so while he was there visiting a family member, he's like, hey, I'm going to be in the area. I'll take you out to coffee. Because the guy lived like 20 minutes from where he was going to be. So
That's awesome.
So anytime you travel, you're
Yes,
like, hey,
right.
anyone
just
from here
submit your
looking?
itinerary to us, and we'll be like, okay, we've had contact from these people. We're going to need you to have coffee.
What's been really fun so far is and I haven't traveled a ton, but I recently went on a trip with GFDA and the chamber down to Vegas, and it truly is fun to try and recruit these industries to come to Great Falls and tell them what we have to offer compared to even our sister cities. Because I truly believe in my heart we have so much more to offer, whether it's reasonable housing prices, recreation activities. There's so many more benefits to living in Great Falls, Montana than there are some of our sister cities. And I'm not trying to knock them by any means.
No.
I just think that's facts.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm the same way. Like when I tell people that I work in the tourism space for Great Falls, you get some of that Montana attitude of, oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, yeah, that you don't get to work there. I get that. Like, I completely get how sad it is you don't get to work in Great Falls. But I look at our other communities in our state, which are amazing. But I'm like, they would be harder to promote, in my opinion, because of what we have here makes it real easy.
Right.
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it's one of my places that I go to get refueled is my cabin. I built a cabin in 2016, and from Great Falls to my cabin is a 48-minute drive. You
Nice.
can't beat that. You know what I mean?
No.
And if I want to go fishing, it's right
there.
here in my backyard.
World
It's-
class.
I
Yeah.
mean,
And in that 48-minute drive, the diversity of the landscape that changes
is night and day.
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
just
And
crazy.
stunning.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah. There's so many things here too. And we also say that it's a like genuine Montana experience too, compared to, again, we love all the other towns in our state, but Great Falls, you can better afford it, and you
Yep.
have the kind of more authentic, still genuine Montana feel here.
People who are from Montana are still here.
Correct.
Like
Absolutely.
Mayor
And-
Reeves.
Yeah.
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 I've been here and I'll probably, I know I'll die here someday eventually. Hopefully a long ways away, but not anytime soon,
Yeah.
please, Lord.
Yeah, right.
But I think Great Falls, we've just been Great Falls for so long. Not good, not bad. It's just, or as far as growth, I'm
Sure.
talking
Yeah.
population influx. But I do believe we're on the cusp of seeing some significant growth. I really do.
Yeah.
I think what's going on around kind of the country and affordability and just things like that, people are really taking a look at Montana and what we have to offer. Excuse me. And, we have the big Sentinel missile upgrade project coming soon. That's
Which
gonna
is going to be crazy.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that'll bring up 3,500 to 4,000 workers in.
I have to share. I had the privilege and honor of going to get some services from Benefice today. And currently in town, they have over 650 consultants working on their new management system for billing and
Oh, yeah, I
records
read
and all
that,
the
yes.
Yeah.
Epic system. So if you're going... Hey, Great Falls listeners, if
Yeah.
you're going to Benefice anytime from now until the future and you haven't been there in a while, you're going to have to be doing some updating because some things transferred and some things didn't. But we were, and I was just, the staff there were like, I'm so sorry this is taking so long. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Do you realize the economic impact that was, this upgrade is
Like,
having
take
in our
as long as you
community?
need.
Absolutely.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
And we partnered with them to get them resources and make sure those consultants know how to experience our community in the best way possible since they'll be here a while. Like, get out.
Yep.
Become a local. It's
Yeah.
fun.
And another point to that, kind of what you're talking about, is as mayor, one of the things that I wanted to see streamlined is our permit and zoning processes. So as people come to Great Falls, whether it's for a business or just to have a family or whatever, and they want to build a home, I want us to streamline our processes so you're not having to wait 6 months to a year to get your permit back. Sometimes it does take a little time, but Brock Cherry, he's the new director for planning and community development, and he's so full of energy. I'm sure you guys have met Brock, and he's doing a wonderful job. He truly is, because he knows the importance of when people show up in our community, they don't want to sit and wait. They want to get their project going or get their house going, and so that's it's imperative that Brock really understands the pressure he's under to ensure that it's streamlined.
Yeah. I got to meet Brock, and before I had met him, someone had said to me that he's this mix of old school and new ideas all in one. So I was picturing this old new soul person, and I'm like, well, I don't know what really
What
that
that looks
means. And then I met him, and I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Like,
Yeah.
once you meet him, you're like, oh yeah, all of that.
I've heard, was it you? Somebody gave the comparison of he's Leslie Knope, like from Parks and Rec, the TV show.
Oh, I don't know.
Either of you know? Oh,
I
okay.
don't know, Leslie.
Well,
Yeah.
apparently
I'm not
you,
a Parks and Rec
Well, never mind.
person.
But those of you
I'm
out
a
there who
local
have
Parks
seen,
and Rec fan.
me too, but that's not what I'm talking about. Okay. Well, that just fell flat. I should use my new
Yeah.
wah, wah.
You could have.
sound effect.
Does it really have sound
Yeah,
effects?
here,
that is
I'll
awesome.
play it for so.
Oh, that is awesome. I love it.
So nobody got my Parks and Rec reference. There we go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that'll happen throughout our lifetime.
Yeah.
We won't get each other's references, and I'll just sit here and wonder what she's talking about.
Somebody who's listening understands what I'm saying.
And
Yes.
I'm glad you
Yes.
laughed in your car. And I hope you're listening
Yeah. Thank you.
in your car.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, Cory, favorite things to do in Great Falls growing up, and has it changed?
Yeah, I
as
think
you got older.
Oh, it's definitely changed. So when I was a kid, we used to cruise Central.
Oh.
I don't know if you literally
Zandy's.
Zandy's was there.
Yeah,
it was
the
so
turnaround.
fun. 25 cents cheeseburgers or
Hey.
hamburgers, 35 cents for a cheeseburger.
Wow.
Best fries ever. Did you guys ever get a chance to?
I did
No.
not.
Oh, their
no.
fries were to die for. So, literally, we would go just cruise the drag. It was so fun. That's gone by the wayside, obviously. I think we still have some great small town.
You should
those
bring
type-
that back.
Yeah,
You
right?
just
Yes.
Cruising with the
Well,
mayor.
I think they all hang out at Target now.
Yeah.
I was just gonna
That's where
say that.
They all hang out in Target.
We were coming down 10th Avenue South one day, and I'm just see this congregation of kids and pickups and cars, and they're
Yeah.
doing their tomfoolery like kids do. And I looked at my husband. I'm like, "What is this?" And he goes, "Yeah, this is what kids do these days." And I'm like,
Yep.
"Huh." That
Yeah.
doesn't seem so much
the new
fun.
cruising. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I'm super excited about for our community that's going to open in June 15th, I believe they told us, is the new aquatics water park.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
yes.
a $20 million investment that we've put into this community, and it's got basketball, weight room, swimming, obviously. It is going to be top of the line. So.
I also have it on good authority that if I want a slushie from Dairy Queen, the staff there will go get me one and bring it to me while I sit in front of the fireplace
Very nice.
and work.
This was, I don't know if good authority. You pitched the idea on the podcast to Steve Herrig.
And he said yes.
Are you sure he said yes?
Yes. It's recorded. We
Okay.
can go back
of
in
course,
time.
it's-
So you just
Yeah.
need like that edited clip. So when you walk in the
Right.
door of the Aim High, you can be like,
Yeah.
Here's
this is
the
what
deal.
Steve said.
Get my
This is my
slushie.
pass.
Yeah, so I think it's little things like that, the aquatic center and just some of the other growth that we're seeing. We're getting is it Pizza Ranch? Is that
Yes,
right?
uh-huh.
I'm not gonna lie. I
okay.
love the one in Helena. I'm
Yeah.
a dork that's in there playing games with my kids,
Which is
'cause I love
perfect.
it.
This one is going to be the largest one
Yep.
Is it
in
really?
their
It is.
collection.
Wow.
Yep, the largest one.
Well,
The
that's cool.
largest.
Yep.
That's pretty
Now,
impressive.
I'm a big fan of laying claims of the biggest, the best, the first, the largest.
Yep.
Smallest.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The first.
Yep.
The
We've
one
got-
and only.
we've got a few
Oh yeah,
of
because
those.
All
we
those
have
things.
the shortest river
That's
in the world.
right.
We do.
Or
Sure
in the
do.
United States.
Yeah. The
Yep.
amount of claims we can make is just
It is. It's awesome.
It's really
Yeah.
impressive.
It is.
North America's largest buffalo jump site.
Yeah.
An outstanding school district.
Yeah.
I do.
Which,
I truly
Yeah.
believe we have a phenomenal district.
Shannon and I are the weakest in that area, and we will get people who walk in the office and like, tell us about the school district. It teaches kids, and their
I mean, we
office
say
is right over
positive
there.
things,
Yeah.
but neither of us went to school here or have
Children.
kids, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we know the reports and the data, and we're like, it's
Yeah.
a good system.
It is.
What else do you want to know?
No.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
But
And those who grew up here, it's a friendly rivalry, as you guys know, between
Yeah.
CMR and Great Falls High. I mean, we've come together.
Yeah.
When I was in school, I hung out with CMR kids and vice versa, and they still do. My twin boys hang out with kids.
Yeah.
But if you don't grow up here, you don't realize what the rivalry is like.
Sure.
And-
the funny thing is, I don't know if we've ever had a CMR graduate on our podcast.
I don't know if we have. That's true.
Has
like
anyone ever
we've-
graduated from CMR?
Well, I think that might be the
Oh,
problem.
that's the issue. Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Drum, the drum.
Oh, here, hold on.
See,
Mic
look
drop.
at all this fun stuff. But it tends to be the people that we've had on the podcast that are Great Falls people have all graduated from Great Falls
That's
High.
true.
Wow,
that's a
that's
good
funny.
point.
They're both wonderful schools. I have a
Yeah.
special needs daughter, Hannah. She's 23, and she did go to CMR. My wife spent a day at Great Falls High and a day at CMR just to see what would be her best fit. And my
Yeah.
wife came home and said, "I don't care that you're a Bison. She's going to
This is where
CMR."
she's going, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I love both schools, and
Yeah.
just like I'll always support the Cat or the Grizz when they're playing elsewhere, because I want to
Sure.
support our Montana teams
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's how most people are. But Great Falls High is truly like I told you, it was the best 10 years of my law enforcement career was being there. It's just
Yeah.
a beautiful historical building and just great staff, and the kids are wonderful.
So besides cruising down Central there, getting Zandies,
Yes.
what else did you do
I
as
fished
a
a
kid?
lot.
Yeah.
I fished a ton. Went hunting. Obviously, I think people who grew up here or live in Montana, they're involved in recreation in some form, whether
Yeah.
it's
The
skiing,
outdoors.
snowshoeing, snowmobiling. Just something outdoors, floating the river. So I did a ton of fishing, a ton of hunting. did a little partying. This is going to sound horrible. In
Unbelievable.
high school, and I was a good kid. I was an athlete, played sports and stuff, but I drank alcohol in high school, got a couple minor possession alcohol tickets, went to college and didn't drink at all.
Yeah, that sounds
You just
about
got it
right.
out of your system. Yeah. That's funny.
I mean, it should not be a shock to anyone who's ever known anyone in law enforcement.
Yeah.
The things that they do.
Oh,
There's a reason why they're good at their job when they're older. Yeah.
I totally agree.
I grew up,
Absolutely.
my aunt and her spouse were part of the GFPD. And so when I was growing up, we'd come to Great Falls and the people we hung out with were all PD. And
Yep.
so when you realize that as a kid, the people you see as adults acting the way they are actually the police officers of the town you're in, you're like, well, this is interesting.
Yeah.
This is a different
Gives you a
perspective.
different- yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
And
Great,
even law
wonderful
enforcement, I
people.
saw over 25 years, what the mentality, the behaviors of cops in 1998 versus when I retired in 2022, night and day. You know, you just couldn't get away with some of the things you did with back in the day, and rightfully so. We needed to raise the bar and have the public's trust and stuff. I'll tell you what, back to your what else did I used to do all the time that's changed? This big hill right here next to us.
Oh,
Yes.
I used to
sledding.
sled down that all the time.
Okay.
But I do understand why the city had to close it.
Are you
Now,
asking?
It's
yeah, I'm
frustrating.
going to ask.
Okay.
I don't know if we've ever had it on the recorded podcast before, but I'm going to ask because the hill you're talking about is the hill where our office is, and we've talked about it a lot, you know, really just covered with gophers. But my understanding is
Part question then.
my understanding is that the reason the sledding on this hill where our office is was shut down is because a kid flew onto 10th Avenue South and died.
Oh, I haven't heard that. I thought he just
didn't
broke his
die.
arm.
He didn't die, but he did get injured. And then the city
On 10th Avenue South?
No, it
Okay.
was
I
down
like,
here
how
by
would
the
that have even happened?
Like, he somehow, if I remember right, he kind of like went through the fence. He was going
Okay.
so fast. And what's down to the railroad tracks
Yeah.
or whatever. He got beat up pretty good from this. Of course, now it's the city's fault because you provided a snow sledding hill and
Probably that non-nuclear cereal varnish he put on the bottom of his sled.
Yeah, and that's the downside, and that's not in Great Falls. That's any community.
Yeah.
We provide something, someone gets hurt, blames the city, and then that ends the
happens.
fun.
We're a Sue happy society.
We are.
Yeah.
Yep.
This building used to be the warming area in the basement for that sledding. And so, folks, if you're keeping track at home, that is just one thing that I was wrong about.
Today?
No, in the history of our podcast. In the history of our podcast.
Okay.
Most everything else I've gotten right. The number of tribes that use the buffalo jump
true.
and Lewis and Clark stuff. Like I've been on a roll. So this one thing, folks.
Not when Captain Otto was here.
No, that was
That's what got you on the list.
Yeah.
there was a lot of conversation that wasn't good there.
Are you going to ask him about the gopher
No, I feel
gophers?
fairly
or whatever they are?
here. What I'll go with is
This is
we
your
have a-
chance.
Yeah, we have a gopher issue here in the park, and I have addressed it with the director of Parks and Rec, and with
Our
Captain Otto.
landlord.
But the issue is they need to be exterminated.
Sounds like we need to get some pellet guns.
Yeah,
And
and I was
I'll leave it at that.
I was told I cannot shoot them off of the deck because you cannot discharge firearms within city limits.
Pellet guns, not a.
Correct. I
firearm.
wasn't planning on a pellet gun.
Oh, you're going 12 gauge shotgun
No,
style.
I'm really good with a 22, so I feel very.
that would be unlawful.
And I just told Steve, like, yeah, I think it would benefit tourism for Great Falls if the headline says tourism director arrested for killing gophers off the deck of the visitor
That
center.
would be an entertaining headline.
Like, I don't see any downside to it other than the fine and possible jail time, but.
And you'll have a cool booking photo.
Right.
Right? I mean, everyone wants a booking photo.
When you get out, we'll just hang that on the wall as you come in. Perfect story. We do get people, though, who are more city folk visitors who love the gophers.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, think they're adorable.
And I don't know how, like, even at the baseball stadium, Centene Stadium, where our baseball team plays, I don't know how
really good
know how
point.
they keep them off the field.
Bubble
They
gum?
are, I think they do. But,
Well, my husband has a line on a BB gun that looks like an assault rifle for
Everything does nowadays.
Yeah.
$200. And the guy who's selling it, who is a barber in town, says it will take out a gopher.
Oh, I have no doubt.
So that seems like a legal use
Yep.
for me, and I've got that beautiful deck. I'm just
What did Steve? Obviously, they probably can't lay any poisons down because of
Correct.
other
Yes,
animals.
other
and they'd
animals.
kill
Yeah,
their pets.
absolutely.
basically he just said, deal with it. It's nature. You live in a park.
Sure.
So I was like, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and that's one of the
true.
things.
It is
I'm,
pretty disgusting.
Speaking of gophers and animals, something that I brought up here just at one of the recent city commission meetings was, as you guys know too, we have a deer problem.
Urban
in our-
deer. I was
it-
just hoping.
Yes, and so we're going to have a presentation by FWP, Fish, Wildlife, and Parks here coming up, I think, at the next meeting.
This sounds
Just to
like
what
fun.
what it entails. Helena has one, Fort Benton has one, as
Yes.
you know. And I get it. It's
You
people-
don't live in city limits. Like, your deer problem is not that part of
My
this.
hope is they'll wander into the city.
I like our deer behind on our hill there. They
Well,
don't bother them where they're fine where
When
we
you
live.
have a 20 herd deer in your yard eating all of your flowers,
and that's the biggest complaint.
yeah,
they
my
crawl up
husband
on
might
my
disagree
deck.
with me. They eat some of our shrubs. That's true.
oh,
The best thing about an urban
I
deer
enjoy them.
program, in my opinion, is the animals that are harvested are then given to like the food bank, Salvation Army, those type, and so there's a benefit that comes from it.
and I think there's a revenue stream from people being, I mean, can you think of all the tourists that would want to come in and get a special permit to go night hunting for
Well,
deer
we're
with
not
the
gonna
police
do
force?
that.
I'm going to hide in my basement if that's the case.
Yeah, we are definitely. It will be done by FWP if we go that route.
Please
yeah.
don't open this up for.
I think it's a great
Recreation.
idea.
You
I'm gonna
know,
leave
somebody else
town when that
proposed something
happens.
similar. They said, "Well, just let the kids for
No, oh
archery," and I'm
God,
like,
no.
"We'll have deer running around with arrows
Oh
in
my
them around the
gosh.
community."
Yeah.
Correct. So,
Well-
it's going to get dialed in.
Oh my gosh.
I'm excited about the prospect just because
Oh my
I
goodness.
love Helena's urban deer
Yeah.
population.
And that's
the-
what we're going to mirror them.
And you know, when you're listening to the radio and you hear, "Hey, tonight is part of the urban deer situation." So if you see men in black clothing sneaking around with lasers on their guns, don't be afraid. It's fine.
My cynical brain is like, well, isn't that a perfect time to commit a crime if you just dress up in black? No one's going to
Is
care.
it the deer program or the purge?
Right. Exactly. Oh, don't get her started on that. This is really going off the rails.
He started it.
This is just
Sorry.
Okay, so let's get back on track, Shannon. What would you like to talk about?
No, Rebecca, do you want to talk about your feelings about the purge?
No, I'm going to save that for when I make my bid for president.
Oh, that's awesome.
We do still want people to come here.
The founding fathers.
Yes. Oh boy. Maybe that off-air conversation.
Folks.
Love it.
This reminded me of a story. So you were talking about, cruising down Central.
Yeah.
My husband's father grew up in Great Falls, went to Great Falls High. Actually, from legend I've heard, like one of the barriers that got put up in front of the main entrances was because of my father-in-law.
That's awesome.
But apparently his father had his own police scanner because that's how he knew how to keep track of his son
Oh, that's
on Friday
awesome.
night
That's
because
awesome.
he'd just be just racing down Central, and that was apparently the way that his dad kept track of him was the
Yep.
police scanner.
That's funny.
Are police scanners still a thing?
Yeah, but they're to my understanding, and I don't have a police scanner because we're digital now. It's harder to get the frequencies to hear
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
but
they
yeah, back in the day,
changed it.
I grew up with my grandparents had scanners
Yeah.
in their house. I mean, that was the thing that you did to listen to the police and fire, and
Yeah.
So I think there's still scanners out there. I just don't know if they're as easy to get the frequencies.
I grew up in a
Yeah.
community where people would just call your mother, and then before you got home, they're like, "Hey, Rebecca was driving way too fast on the highway."
That's how my wife's from a little town called Rudyard, Montana.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And
Highline.
that's
Near the
that's-
Highline.
She said the same thing. You couldn't get away with anything
Yeah.
in the small towns.
We're in the middle of state Class C basketball tournaments, and during tournament time, when I got older, my mom let me drive to Glasgow to take in tournaments. While I was running a little bit behind because I had stopped to see my boyfriend for too long, and so I'm capable at the age of 17 to drive any speed I want, and
Oh, no.
law
Yes.
enforcement wasn't really prevalent, and I knew a lot of them anyway, so I just figured, it'll be fine. Well, when I got home, my mom was sitting up and I'm like, oh, this can't be good. And she's like, yeah, Sweet Hammond called and said that you passed him on your way to Glasgow like he was going backwards. Would you like to discuss with me the speed at which you were traveling tonight to get to Glasgow? And I'm like, I would not like to discuss that with you.
And he shouldn't be snitching.
Right. I'm like, next time I see Sweet, there's going to be a little discussion in the alley.
Right. That's awesome.
But, you know, then I remembered, no, he's a good guy and he's just looking out for me. So I will thank him later.
How many years later was that your change in thinking about the situation?
Immediately.
Okay. Well, that's
Like,
good.
I knew
See?
Swede.
Oh, look at you. Mature.
Yeah. So mature. Look what happened later in life. Yeah.
Okay. So now, excuse me, now in life as an adult in Great Falls, what do you enjoy?
Yeah. Boy, what do I enjoy? I enjoy staying busy. Obviously, I
You don't like downtime.
Yeah.
I love being a public servant.
Does your spouse consider maybe you don't like spending time at home?
She's wondering. Maybe that's why we have a good marriage.
Right, 'cause you're just not around.
We just
Yeah.
hi,
perfect.
bye. Yeah, works out good. Yeah, no, I think, like I said, things I enjoy doing now are going to my cabin. I think that's a lot of fun. I love hanging out with my kids, the two boys that are still left. We try and spend a lot of time together. We're excited about the aquatics because we're going to get some memberships there and shoot hoops. They're great basketball players and they're runners, something I don't do. But yeah, I just, I don't get a lot of chance to do things that I really want to do, to be honest with you. I think that day will come when I officially retire from everything, because the job pretty much keeps me hopping in everything I do right now. So, but it's funny, we were talking about that a lot of people listening are from out of state and stuff. And I can think that if I was going to move, which I'm not going to, the things that I would want to know about a community is their school district, what type of police and fire services, home prices. And I think that's what keeps me and others in Great Falls, because we get a gold star in those areas.
It's the reason we chose Great Falls.
Absolutely.
And so everyone's like, well, why did you select Great Falls? I'm like, for the nerdiest reason possible.
Yep.
Like, I can have a great career.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get paid a really decent wage and be able to afford a home and do recreational stuff.
Yep. Exactly.
Like,
right.
it's not like you could afford a home in other communities, but you better love it because you're not getting out of
You're
it
not
to
doing
do
anything
else.
Yep.
Right.
That's exactly right.
I think Great Falls too has this, and some days it fuels me and other days it angers me, but this very underrated underdog perception, I think sometimes, and it frustrates me because it's just not true. Or I'm like, what lens are you looking at your life through that this is not a place to live or visit? Because first off, you're not recognizing all there is here. And okay, you in big cities with all of your political divisions and issues and
crime,
traffic and overpriced things and crime, is that really the life is that worth it? And so part of me gets really frustrated and part of me loves this underrated aspect.
Totally
of it too.
agree. You're right. In big cities, you're going to drive an hour and a half to work and an hour and a half home. I mean, we can pretty much get anywhere within 10 to 15 minutes in this city. It's awesome.
Well, and the thing we often hear is that Great Falls is just so friendly. And that's the other thing that takes me by surprise is, well, where do you live that the people aren't nice to you? Why are you there?
Right.
We were just down at the Mo probably 2 weeks ago, and
Mighty Mo Brewing downtown.
Yes. I think we've talked about them enough.
We have.
That's maybe true. Our listeners know, but maybe this is your first episode. So the Mighty Mo Brew Company downtown, and the people sitting next to us are, they leaned over because they've got this big common table in the middle, which is where we like to sit. And so these people leaned over and said, do they come to the table and take your order? I'm like, oh yeah, they'll be by. It says, is this your first time at the Mighty Mo? Yeah, it's our first time. I said, are you from the area? Or I said, where are you from? And they said, Cascade. And I'm like, well, that's not that far away.
Yeah.
It's been here for 10 years, but they had never been. So it's just those little things of getting to visit. And so then they asked what my food recommendations were because, I mean, I like to eat food. So I gave them my recommendations. I said, maybe you like what I like, maybe you don't. Who knows?
Yeah.
So...
And I love how downtown, speaking of the Mo and all those other businesses, I love how it is just really transformed again. Like I said, it was so hopping in the 90s when I was there cruising the drag, and then it just kind of fizzled away for a while. And over the last 5 to 10 years, I just, you guys know, downtown is just so prosperous now, and it's a fun place to go visit.
Yeah,
I don't like parking meters, but that's another topic.
I've heard.
I was going to ask you about this because this was part of your campaign stick. And I think it's applicable to talk about here because our visitors, that's something that they will deal with when they go downtown, or we kind of try to explain.
Yeah. So one of the big things, and I don't know if we've devoted enough time to it, I don't know if it needs a lot of time, but we have the Passport parking app.
We do.
Yeah. And it's a Passport parking system in the downtown area. There's a kiosk usually in the center of every block that you can put your change or coins in and all that other stuff.
But side streets still have meters.
Yep. But you can use the app anywhere, but also knowing what zone you're in, if it's a zone thing or if it's a zone and space thing. And then sometimes, folks, I'll just tell you because it happened to me yesterday, sometimes the app doesn't load or doesn't work correctly, and so you're just default to quarters, and so it takes $2 to park for 2 hours, $1 an hour.
Yeah.
And this is not necessarily, I mean, this is, cities across the country have
parking
stuff.
Absolutely. And it's a topic that we'll never fix. It doesn't, no, if any city would, they'd be, you know what I mean? It's just it's a topic that is
and no
always
matter what you do, people are going to complain.
They will. Right. That's exactly right. But we are looking at it. I can tell you that community and planning development is just finally able to get enough people on our parking commission assembled. That's why nothing's really been done.
Yeah.
So we'll start with them and say, what are your ideas? Change it all, get rid of it, keep it the same. Like I've said, I either would like to see a 2-hour free parking per person or per vehicle when they go down there, and then you have to pay, or just get rid of it altogether. The flip side to that is I also understand that when people feed these meters, that's what pays for our parking garages, and they are not in the best of condition, quite frankly. So it's a double-edged sword to get rid of a revenue stream that helps those deferred costs that are happening.
And underutilized, I would say, too, with the garages.
Yep. And it's funny because you're right. When we go to a bigger city, we have no problem parking in a parking garage and a garage, and then walking 2 or 3 blocks.
Right.
But here it's like, no, I can't walk a block. It's like, what?
Ridiculous.
If I can't park right in front of the Blue Rose, I'm not going.
Yes. So I don't understand that
I don't understand that either.
I just, where I get passionate about it is for our visitors in the city, if they want to go downtown and spend 5 or 6 hours walking downtown and spending money, I don't want to have them worrying about feeding a darn parking meter. It's just let them spend their money in the stores, not the government.
What I will tell you, probably something you probably shouldn't know, but I know, so I'm going to spill it here on our podcast. If you have an out-of-town plate and you're downtown and it's your first offense, you'll usually get a little ticket that says, thanks for shopping in our community.
Right.
Next time.
Don't forget next time.
Put money in the meter.
Yeah.
Right.
Now just don't move your car either.
Yeah.
Just leave it there until you're all done.
Right. Right.
They'll get you again.
They'll get you again.
And they're good at what they do. I'll give them those parking attendants. They're good at what they do.
Yes.
And that's their job.
And parking is such an issue, and I laugh because I did it today, and but it is nice to just park in one location and meander up and down. I mean, there's just so much to see and do and engage.
Walking into.
Yeah. So as I said, I went to Benefice earlier today.
Yeah.
And it took me 4 different attempts to find a place to park, and it was only about 2 blocks away. And at first my immediate reaction was like, this is ridiculous. And I'm like, you're going into a healthcare facility. I think you could walk. It's not like that's big of a deal. Like, you're capable of walking.
Yeah.
But then, when I first started, that was not my immediate thought. My immediate thought was, I think it would have been easier for me to take an Uber here. And then halfway to the building, I'm like, it is a healthcare facility. Walking to that thing is probably a good plan for you.
Maybe this was strategic. Yeah.
Keep your heart healthy by walking to the hospital, But, yeah. Then I started thinking, well, maybe they need a parking garage. Like, what's going on here? Because I've never really had that issue before. So
Yep. And that's one of
Parking
the things,
garages are awesome.
they
Yeah,
are, and
they're
that's one of the
helpful.
things that we're going to look at too. Do we maybe privatize our parking garages? Let a company come in, just like we did Corsco, who runs our golf courses now, and it's turned a profit and all that good stuff. Government. The government running everything is not the solution, in my opinion.
Right.
Government is needed for police services, fire, those roads, water, all those. But I think we should be cautious what other types of lanes we get into. And I'm excited to look at the potential of privatizing and let them run the garages.
Yeah.
While we're talking, did you have more parking questions?
Not questions.
Or
I was just
comments?
going
Go
to
ahead.
say, am I the only person on planet Earth that gets nervous in some of the parking garages? Like
I think
there's
that's a
two
natural
different
feeling.
types of parking garages in Great Falls. And I called it the fancy one, mostly because it did not give me anxiety. The one behind US Bank downtown off of First Avenue North where Keller Geist used to be. That was what I called the fancy parking garage. And it gave me no issues because it was 2-lane traffic and you just drove in and then you drove out. The one that is over on the, where are we going to, behind Kaufman's, okay?
Yep.
That one gives me such high issues because there is always a moment in that parking garage when I'm in it, like, am I ever going to be able to get out of this thing?
There is some type of weird magic that happens in parking garages.
Figure
Yeah,
out.
there is.
Yeah.
Like when, like we're only going up and then I have to cut across and go down. And where have I entered? Like it's a whole different
And
portal.
where are the people going the opposite direction? Where are they?
How is this working? Because
Yes.
that one I just can't do. I would rather do anything else on planet Earth than to park in that parking garage. And I had to do jury duty a couple weeks ago, and they're like, you need to park in this parking garage and then sprint to the courthouse so that our employees can park right next to the building. And I'm like,
See, you're just heart health again. With your walk.
well, and I was running late. So I was the fastest I have ever walked in my life.
Wow.
I don't run in public because it's not things other people should see, but I walked fast.
Yeah.
But that parking garage, Cory,
Yeah.
want to see me lose my mind? That's the one.
Now I know on days if you're just real sassy, I'm going to be like, parking garage.
Yep.
Go. That's going to be your punishment.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of downtown and not asking you to play favorites by any means, but do you have places that you like to go eat in
I
the
do.
downtown area?
Yes,
Or
absolutely.
Are you going to
anywhere-
name them?
Or anywhere.
I
in
better
this
town.
is a
not.
slippery
That's going
slope.
to, yeah,
I know, I
I'm
was
not
like-
taking the bait on
I
this
was like,
one.
we always like to, I always like to ask people their like recommendations and stuff. But
Right.
I
Well,
understand in your position.
I would say there's probably 4 or even 5 locations that I frequent often, as you can tell, and I'm not eating salads. So
So one of the strategies we're looking at for our fiscal year 25 plan is to do this recommendation thing where we profile a business owner or a leader within the community and they give us recommendations. So clearly you're opting out of that
I
as
am.
an option.
Yes. When I'm just Cory the civilian again, I'll tell you all day long. But
Perfect.
I already can see my phone just blowing up.
How about, do you have a favorite beer at the Mighty Mo, or do you
Oh, that's
frequent
pretty
that?
narrowed.
I don't drink beer.
Okay.
So
No beer drink.
No beer.
All right.
I do drink an
got none of it.
occasional. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do drink an occasional Crown and Coke.
Okay.
But definitely not a beer. I don't know
Okay.
why you're right. I drank beer in high school.
You got
and
it
that's
out of your
the
And then
last
it's
system.
the last thing.
and I hated it, but
Yeah.
I did it because it
But
was
that
cool.
was the
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Peer
weren't doing it
pressure,
for
kids.
taste then.
Don't
No.
That's
do
right.
it.
Okay, well, when and if the distillery opens downtown at some
There we
point,
go.
we'll re-ask you the
Okay,
question.
sounds good.
It's got to be a when.
Yeah.
When it opens.
When.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We have a lot of great prospects. I did a talk this morning to the Realtors Association for about an hour and a half. And one of the things I told them, although I couldn't tell them names, we truly are on the cusp of some amazing growth coming. I truly believe that. And I know people have said that for a long time, but I think now is the time. And we're working with some industries that are really keen and interested in coming to Great Falls. And I think in the next 3 to 6 months, I'm hoping with GFDA and Chamber and us, we'll be able to announce that X business is coming to our community, because that's what we need. Is growth is great. We want people to come and live in our community, but industry is what pays
Yeah.
the bills. That's where the tax base comes from, or the majority of it.
Do you find it frustrating to have to keep secrets?
I do. Yeah, it's funny.
I mean, but your entire life you've just
Had to
spent
do that.
Absolutely.
keeping secrets.
Yeah. No, there's a lot in my little file cabinets up here. That is for
Someday.
And some I try and just keep them closed because I don't want them all to open. But yeah, it is challenging because you want to share, hey, so-and-so business is looking to come here, but that's not how it works. I learned, they prepped me on that very firmly.
Day one in the mayor's office.
Yeah. Because I would love to go out and say,
Yeah.
hey, check it out. You know, send them letters, send them emails, tell them what a cool community we are. But businesses don't work that way.
I think my biggest frustration when I worked in economic development was knowing things no one else did, and then hearing people say things like,
Totally.
this business went on, just these assumptions of things like this is why this business can't come here, or this is why this business closed, or the only reason we don't have this is because of X. And I'm like, you people are morons.
Yeah.
They have
Like,
no
where
idea.
are you
And you
getting
can't,
this?
and the problem was you can't correct them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
I read
that
social
would be
media comments
disclosing.
sometimes, and I'm like, that is just so not true.
And those are the
But it takes
loudest
off-
voices.
They are. Yep.
Yep. And it's
They
the
are.
biggest frustration. So lesson here, folks, is don't believe everything you read in the comments on the internet.
Yeah.
So true.
Kind of on that same vein, just in my past life at KRTV and here and other things and just my personality, I get so frustrated when people have such negativity about our community.
Yep.
And I see it, in my role here at Visit Great Falls, I'm monitoring Facebook pages and things like that. And oftentimes comments get turned off so quickly before I can respond. But you see somebody post on a what's happening Great Falls page, hey, we're coming here to visit or, move or things like that.
Why would you come
what's
here?
there to do?
Yeah.
And just
I know.
there's so many drugs. Why would you come here? And I just okay, then you leave then.
Yep.
You leave if that's what you think of the community you live in, or do something to make it better, or try having a better attitude about it. It just really frustrates me. And a lot of just my work in my professional career in Great Falls has been trying to help boost that morale and the self-esteem of Great Falls. And just respond so people can understand. And that's the case wherever you go, right?
Yep.
It's not a Great Falls problem, but I think we do have kind of a morale issue. And as we've talked in some of our travel and tourism related meetings, we don't have any reason to have this kind of low morale or low self-esteem. We have every reason, the opposite, actually.
Totally agree. Here's a prime example. This morning, the city of Great Falls deals with the same stuff.
Yeah.
We did a post, just Throwback Thursday, I think, or whatever they call it. And it's a picture of Charlie Russell's house with his wife and how the log cabin. And someone wrote a comment who cares? There's more to this town than Charlie Russell.
Oh my
Why do you
gosh.
even need to say that?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Clearly there is. This is an all-inclusive post. My
But
gosh.
here's the deal. He's kind of a big deal in March.
He is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
He's
like
kind of a big deal in the whole United States of
why-
America.
What is the point of that
I
comment?
know. None. It's just keyboard warriors is what I
Yeah.
call them. And they just drive me nuts. But you're right. They're in every community, not just ours.
Right.
Yeah. And if you got scared because Shannon said the word drugs, don't be.
Right.
Because
No.
Captain Otto, who we had on
discussed this.
the podcast, we brought him on for the one question, which he was prepared for and then met me, is our community safe? Because we get that question so often. And it's well, what? Yeah.
Yeah, and some of it maybe
I mean,
depends
if
on
you're
what
going to be a drug
think
dealer
about.
in our town, I don't think it's going to be a
Correct.
safe
That's-
community for you. But
Yeah.
Yep.
I think if you're going to be a normal human,
It's
Right.
no different than us going to Chicago or New York City or whatever. You got to know there are certain neighborhoods at certain times that you just probably shouldn't be there. Do you know?
Yeah.
Or because it's a higher crime rate. That's in every city. There's
Right.
higher areas of a city crime rate. But Captain Otto's right. This is not a crime-ridden community. It is
Right.
a very. If it was, I wouldn't live here.
Right.
Truly,
And
I
that's
don't want
really
to.
been a narrative that seems to have taken off in our community. And
Yep.
I'm not trying to dismiss the issues we do have. I mean, in our own neighborhood, we had, someone who was part of a very
That
large
is true.
drug ring that just got
Right
taken
across the street.
Yeah, but and we live in a nice neighborhood.
Sure.
But I also was not. It was isolated to me. I knew it wasn't to me. I knew what to watch out for. But all that being said, I just don't. Again, not trying to dismiss the issues that are here, but I'm not sure where this huge narrative shift to this, we are just this drug riddled town is coming from, because I don't, with the exception of my neighbor, I don't encounter it ever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I'm not seeking it out.
Correct.
So I'm
exactly.
I don't, yeah.
But I think that's also, for anybody, you only know the frame of reference you have.
Correct.
Yeah.
And, you make different lots in life, and you walk into a community and you're there on vacation, you're going to not know certain things.
Right.
Yep.
Which I love.
And
I love being oblivious myself.
And that being said, as a visitor, I also don't want people to be scared, I need to avoid this certain neighborhood. I really, in this position, I am not concerned for anybody coming to visit here.
Nope.
Accidentally ending up
totally
in a bad
agree.
situation.
Yep. Totally agree.
You're not going to stumble into a weirdness anywhere.
Right.
I mean, I did a really awesome chair deal in an alley one time. It was really fun.
A chair
I
deal?
don't know what that means.
I bought chairs off of Craigslist, and the guy's like, "Hey, can you meet me in the alley behind your office?"
And
I'm
you
like,
said yes?
Yeah. This is going to be the most exciting thing I've ever done in
But
my
you
life.
got some ninja skills, so
Yeah.
if he were to...
I did.
Yes. So.
Was this in broad daylight during work hours?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, $20 a piece for the chair. I'm like,
Sometimes I
I'm
think
happy
your
to pay that.
obliviousness is not, as we've discussed with Captain Otto, is not
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I think maybe
She made fun of
there's a
me for
balance.
being aware of my surroundings, essentially.
I did.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's what we want people to be. We want people to be aware of their surroundings.
You guys come at it from this area of law enforcement, and normal humans just...
You'll never find a cop sitting in the middle of a room. Well, in a restaurant, wherever, we're always having
talked about
our back will
this.
be at the wall.
Yes.
Yeah, so we can see everything else.
And we talked about this before, but I'm always aware of that. And my husband is very keenly aware of that. So I know when I'm with him, he's on it. He's looking. One of my best friends, she was a police officer here, and she's in law enforcement in Lewis and Clark County now. But when I'm with certain people who I know are thinking the same thing. Otherwise, I'm always aware of where the exits are.
Yeah.
I walk into them if this
That's
situation
why I
were to
have
happen.
Shannon.
You have to. You do.
And
you have
especially as a small female.
Yeah.
It's just that extra
You are
level.
a tiny human.
Thank you. There's a level of paranoia, but it's also just an awareness. And after spending time covering law enforcement and interacting with them, just things that I'm
Remember back
for.
in the day when we used to do PSAs all the time? Once a
Yes.
week we would film, edit script, have to film a public service announcement, and I think we had a minute 90 seconds.
90 seconds, so minute 30, yeah.
And then every Friday we would go up to KR and give them, and then they'd play them on the. It was so fun. I mean, it was a lot of work. But,
and this is a whole other conversation about the change in
things
media
like
landscape,
all that
but
kind of stuff has gone by the wayside. Yeah.
One of my husband's favorite features on his favorite radio station, 560 KMON.
Oh, I wonder who does that show.
Yeah, is the sheriff's report.
Yeah.
And
Sure. Yep.
Which just cracks me up, because some of them, it's the real small town, the rural.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we had a lost cat today, so if that's your cat, come on.
I know.
So
But that's the beauty of Montana.
I know.
That is the,
So Robert would call me and he's like, "Oh my God, there's a grizzly out in Conrad. You want to head up there?" I'm like, "Where did you learn of this? Sheriff's report?" I think
what is he going to do about it?
let's just leave the bear alone and let the people in, who are trained to wrangle bears. I'm like, this is their.
Yeah,
Let's go
Robert
find
doing?
him. I'm like, we're not going to go find a freaking grizzly roaming the countryside. I don't know what the benefit of this is.
About what he thinks he's going to do with this grizzly.
Yeah, it's the same. He wants to be a storm chaser too. He's like, "Oh, did you hear about this storm? You want to go out there?" Like, no.
that's awesome.
So
I'm sure
Sheriff's
Jason
report
could
is
take it.
favorite.
Speaking of, Jason said to tell you to invite you to come on the KMON morning show.
Oh, sure. I'd
sometime,
love to.
so.
Absolutely.
He likes. He wants to talk about parking. Just FYI.
Perfect. Is
Yeah.
he for or he sit with that?
As the role of the host of the show, he is just there to ask you questions.
Oh,
about
okay.
it.
Sounds
Yes.
good.
There'll be
Yes.
an after dark podcast where you can
Sweet. Good.
have a different conversation.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
awesome.
As I mentioned to you, I think before we started rolling here, so Sheriff Jesse Slaughter, who you were the undersheriff with, he has his own podcast that he started fairly recently called The Pursuit.
Yep.
Yes, which is,
shout out to that. Go
yeah,
listen.
really good and interesting. You were one of his guests on that.
was,
and so
yes.
I was listening to bits and pieces. And I'm curious for you we're kind of going off track here, but that's what we do on this podcast. You were sharing with him a story, I believe, was it your dad or your grandfather and jail and getting to meet him?
Yeah.
Can you share that
Yeah,
story?
so,
I thought that was really
yeah,
intriguing.
so I was born in South Dakota, like I said, Rapid City, and then moved here when I was 1.5. But my birth father, David, had already been sentenced to prison at Deer Lodge.
Oh my gosh.
So we moved to Great Falls to be closer to him. My mom was still going to try and work it out with him at the time. And so he was already sentenced to prison by the time I was born. So he never met me. So my birth father broke out of prison, came to Great Falls, took like a Deer Lodge State Prison truck, came to Great Falls to meet me. And
That's really kind of a sweet story.
Well,
if you're going to break out of jail,
This is really romantic sentiment.
Yeah. So
I'm
he
sorry.
came, he met us, that my grandfather, his dad, my papa, said, David, this isn't the life. My mom said it too. I'm not living a life on the run and stuff. That's not what Cory and we are going to do. So then my papa took David back down to the Great Falls Police Department. He turned himself in and back he went. So,
oh my goodness.
yeah, but long story short, he gave up his parental rights with me. And then Bob Reeves, my dad, even though he's not my birth father, he's my dad. He's the one who taught me to hunt and fish and be a man and all those things. He adopted me when I was about 3.5, 4 years old. So
Cool.
Yeah, so I had
That is a really neat story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Don't
kinda
break
cool.
out of jail, kids. But if you're gonna,
don't go to jail.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
use that reason.
Was that was your first introduction to the Great Falls Police Department?
Exactly.
Yeah, they've been kind ever since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you bring that up in your interview when you were getting hired?
No, but they did bring up my minor possession alcohol tickets. So I tell kids it doesn't matter that I went and got a college degree, that I was straight, if you will, for 4 years in college. Your past will come up to bite you if you want to go into law enforcement. Even though I was a juvenile, I was underage, nothing is ever gets sealed like everyone thinks on your juvenile record. It's always there in a database, especially if you're going to become a cop.
Sure.
And so they hammered me on, you're an alcoholic, were you this and that. And I'm like, no, I just kid like to party, man. No different. I just didn't run. You guys showed up, I'd be like, come on in.
Here's a cup.
Seriously. That's how I was, which is not good. But no, I had a great career. I was very fortunate, very blessed. I got to do so many different roles at the police department, whether it was in the special projects unit or detectives or being an SRO. The thing that I don't miss at all about law enforcement is death.
Sure.
You deal a lot with death, and when you deal with death, you also then have to go to the autopsies. And it's just, I can deal with elderly people passing. That's part of life. In fact, I got dispatched to my own grandma's death when she passed away. I got dispatched to attend.
Did you know?
No, I got... The address sounded familiar to me. I'm like, gosh, you just
And
know
then
where
you
Grandma
show
and
up
Papa
and you're
live,
like,
right?
Right.
So I pulled up and I'm like, oh, great. Is it Grandma or Papa? Because they were both alive at the time.
Oh, no.
And there's Grandma's, the true story, in her recliner, her Rainier can, because she loved her Rainier in her, just sitting next to her, and then her Kleenex with her glasses in her other hand, just there.
Wow.
So I'm glad I got to go and obviously other officers took care of the case and stuff. But, when a baby dies or young teens die and stuff, that's the stuff I just don't miss anymore.
That's
I just
the sucky part.
So
I'm curious, because of your history in law enforcement, and that can often harden or jade people sometimes to just the nature of humans.
Absolutely.
You spent so much time with that. But you also say you are so passionate about this community and love this community so much.
Is that alive?
I was scared, like how those go together, and how you either didn't let, or how your law enforcement career maybe further fueled that passion.
I think it further fueled that passion. Let me give an example. We used to have this just, and I'm not trying to brag about myself, but just an example how much I truly care about our community and the people in it. We had a guy by the name of Larry, the homeless guy. I don't know if you guys remember Larry.
Yes.
And I don't remember what year it was. I'm going to say it was around 2002, 2003. The state of Montana was going to send Larry away. They were going to send him to the mental hospital.
Warm Springs.
Warm Springs, thank you. And I caught wind of that because it was our county attorney's office at the time that was going to file the petition, or that had filed the petition. And I thought, here's a man, he's harmless. He just wants to live the way he wants to live, and that's on the streets with his carts. So we hired an attorney, and I said, we went before the courts, and I said, I'll become his guardian. I don't want to deal with his finances. You guys can have someone else, because it just wouldn't look good, cop dealing. But I said, I will make sure he goes to his appointments, medical appointments. When it's cold, I'll get him into an apartment. And for the next 18 years, I was his guardian. He came over to my house, had dinner. We'd go to movies. We'd go. So I think yes, you're right. Does the job harden you in some ways? Absolutely. And it can have an impact. There's many chapters of my marriage that I had to close that chapter and hopefully get to rewrite another chapter, because it is very tough on a family. I was absent for a lot of my kids' activities, like all law enforcement and firemen are.
Yeah.
But the older I got, the more I rose in the ranks too, the more flexibility, and you can have more time with your family and take time off and things like that. But yeah, I sound geeked out about it, but it's there's something about Great Falls that I absolutely love.
Let me just bring up the topic, and I apologize because I'm not going to remember his name, but we've got a really caring individual that sits on the corner of 10th Avenue South
Peace?
now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
And there was a great article written about him, and he just wants to spread joy. And so if you are on 10th Avenue South, you'll find him on the corner right next to Cafe Rio on 9th Street. Yep. He's just there spreading joy.
Yep.
He does like
waving and peace signs.
Peace signs at
and
you.
And he just sits in his little lawn chair and he is just spreading happiness. And
I love it. It's
and
great.
I think it's just amazing. And so when you drive by, feel free to wave. He is just happy as can be. And he just wants to make things better in the world by sharing his joy. And he does. I saw him the other day and I'm like I was in the lane on 9th Street to turn onto 10th Avenue South. And I'm like, oh, is he going to be able to see me? And but he was getting the traffic that was turning the opposite direction onto 10th Avenue South. I'm like, I
want him to see me. I know I always try to wave.
So
those type of things that I think make Great Falls truly unique.
Yeah. He's just there having fun.
He is. That's exactly right. And
Don't call the police on him.
Yeah.
They already know he exists.
Yeah. Exactly. That's so true. Yeah. And we don't do we have homeless in Great Falls? Absolutely we do, but it's nothing to the magnitude of other communities. Right. It truly isn't. So and there's some things in the works to hopefully get some more adequate housing for our homeless. As you guys know, the Bats.
Yep, Bats building.
Yep, that's hopefully going to be wrapped up here soon, and that's only one little step, but we have a ways to go. But yeah, we definitely don't have a big crime problem and a big homeless problem, and we have a hand, no doubt. I'm not saying we don't have homeless, because we do, but it's not as people want to make it out to be.
So, Cory, how long is your term as mayor?
2 years.
That's it?
I know.
That's a lot of work.
It is.
2 years.
Two commissioners are 4. I'm 2. So literally I'll be in office for about a year and then I have to start campaigning again. And that's what I dislike.
Well, that's annoying.
It is annoying, yes. So what I've told my family is that unless something changes or God has a different direction he wants me to go in, I plan to do 2 terms if the people have me back a second term. And then after that, I'll figure things out. Because I like to look at myself kind of as a change agent. I like to come in, rattle, shake things up, get us going in a different direction, and then pass off the baton out. So I think lifelong politicians in the same spot like we have at the federal level is not always the best.
Sure.
No.
Yeah.
Change is good, folks.
It
It's
is.
really fun.
And it's challenging. That's one, and it's not a dig on Great Falls, but we all say we want more housing, we want more development, but it's funny when it comes, I call it the not in my backyard.
Yep.
And I get that a lot. Yes. And it's like, well, we need it, just not in my backyard. Well, it's got to go somewhere.
Somebody's backyard.
Somebody's yard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Thankfully,
folks, you can actually see pictures of Cory, just so you know, on in our, we have them hidden. No, that's not the way that goes. We change up our visitor magazine with, things that need to change out. It's not substantial or material. You're not going to notice a difference, except this edition does have our new mayor and a welcome from him on the cover.
Did you know that was my very first role or very first thing I did as mayor was that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was never more excited. I reached out. I'm like, hey. And Cory's like, yeah, what do you need? And then all of a sudden it came back. I'm like, oh, he's on this. Perfect.
I found real quickly you have to stay on top of things. Otherwise it'll drown you.
Yeah. Snowball.
You also greet people when they arrive at Great Falls International Airport.
Yep, that's one of the first things
over the
they
intercom.
had me do too. Yep, was get up there, and that was
Not
awkward.
But
yeah. Well, hi, this is Mayor Cory Reeves. Welcome to the City of Great Falls.
We years ago for Western Art Week used to have a welcome committee at the airport. So when people started arriving on Wednesday, we'd just welcome everyone. Welcome to Great Falls. It's Western Art Week. Here's a piece of chocolate and a brochure for all the activities that are happening in Great Falls.
Oh, that's cool.
That's neat.
Yeah. And then people didn't want to do that with me anymore, and I was doing it all by myself, and then I looked weird. So then I was like, this might not
you kind of need a organized effort for that to not feel.
Can't be one person.
Maybe gives the opposite effect that you want.
You start running up to people in baggage claim going, hi, welcome to Great Falls. They'd be like,
they're going to turn back and get on that plane. Speaking of that, sort of, what do you hope for visitors, not necessarily people who are moving here or anything like that, but people who come into our community to come and enjoy what we have to offer? What is your hope for what they'll experience or take away?
That Great Falls is truly one of the last best places, and I truly believe that.
Well said.
I think when people come to visit us, I want them to feel welcomed, and I think they will feel welcomed. I think a sense of community, a true sense of community as we take care of each other in this community. As you guys know, whenever there seems to be an unfortunate house fire or a death or someone's going through a medical, look at the GoFundMes and look how fast the donations come in. This truly is a caring community. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say our recreation. There's so many things to offer. When you fly into Great Falls, you're a couple hours from Glacier National Park. You're a couple hours from Yellowstone Park. You're right here in our own community. You can fish, boat, ski. There's just so many things. Great Falls is truly one of the last best places, and I encourage people to come to our community and explore and fall in love with it and move here.
Yeah.
Just as a fun thing, people do that all the time because we have anywhere, depending on the year, 70 to 90% of our visitors that come to Great Falls have been here before.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we got repeaters.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So people come here, they love it, and they're like, well, we'll just come back all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like it.
Yeah, you will.
Yep.
So make your first trip and then.
People also make the mistake of thinking there's, a day or half a day will suffice for visiting things here, and that's not true at all.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That 2.5 days is not even going to be enough to get you just through our 12 museums.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that doesn't count the 53 miles of trail, now the 29 works of art. And
And I think that's what people need to realize that is so cool and unique about Great Falls. Yes, we don't have a Disneyland or a Disney World or a Silverwood or something.
I'm fine with that. That's Lions.
That's exactly. But we have all these other parts of life that people need to be exposed to and that really make a person whole. And it's cool to go to the fun parks every so often, but there's so many other things besides that.
My nephew is going to be in our fine city here in the next couple days, and one of the first questions he asks when he gets to Great Falls, and he's, sorry, Ryan, 10, 8. He's somewhere in there. Maybe he's 6. I don't know, but
okay, well, now we're way off.
It's a big difference.
The first thing he asks is, "Hey, can we go get on the scooters again and go on the River's Edge Trail?"
Awesome.
And I'm like, "We could, buddy, but they're away for the winter still.
Oh, sure.
Hopefully they'll migrate back out here shortly." But yeah.
But how cool that he wants to come and do those things.
Yeah. So it's usually the first question. He walks in the door. He's like, "Hi, I'm Becca. Can we get on the bird scooters and go around the trail?" And I'm like, Not today.
Aren't you a cool
Will you make
aunt,
sure and get his
though?
age when he comes
Yeah.
so you can write that
Solidify.
down? 6,
This
8,
has
9, 10.
never been. This has never been
18,
my
I don't know.
strength. This has never been my strength.
I can only make fun of you because I have no nieces and nephews to keep track of
That
ages.
is hilarious.
I only have the three. And I really don't know what their ages are.
That made my day.
They're
Made my day.
alive and talking, but
Yeah.
still in their parents' house.
Yes.
And when I look at them, I know what the age appropriate conversation to have with them is.
That's a good step.
Yes.
Mostly, like, it's always gray when it comes to Aunt Becca. They're like,
Yeah.
maybe we should not leave her unsupervised with the children. Like, yeah, that's a valid
Clearly.
concern.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm just going to ask you this because you're an elected official, so this is a
Yeah.
thing. If people want to get a hold of you, have questions,
Can they call you for coffee?
Yeah, absolutely. I do a lot of meetings with people, just at coffee shops.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like my primary office is downtown, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. But yeah, anyone can email me at creeves@greatfallsmt.net, or they can just Google City of Great Falls Mayor. It'll come up on our city website.
Yeah.
My email contact information is there. But I meet with a ton of business owners and just citizens in general all the time for coffee. If anything, they just want to be heard.
Yeah.
I think people are
You're a
slowly starting to realize I can't just wave a magic wand and make things happen. That's not the role of the mayor. There's times I wish I could. Trust me,
Yeah.
I do. But that's not the democracy that we have selected for our government here in Great Falls. But I'm happy to meet with anyone at any time. Usually, I'm within two weeks out to get with someone, but I can make it happen.
So that's really important to know because a lot of people who listen to our podcast end up falling in love with, Shannon and I's voice and our beautiful banter. And they're like, I want to live in that town. And so we get a lot of people who are interested in moving to our community.
Awesome.
And so hopefully take up the opportunity. Mayor Reeves has said, yeah.
Also,
Call me.
Also, I think that makes us unique. I mean, you have direct access to people. So.
I agree. And that's
Truly
another
do.
unique, cool thing about Great Falls. How many people can say they get to just hang out with their elected officials? Do you know their
Right.
mayor? You're not going to do that in the big cities.
Right.
I guarantee
No.
it. No way.
No.
Well, we've gone to national conventions and they're like, how do you work with your, elected officials or your mayor or state legislators? I'm like, I call them.
Call them. Yeah.
They're like, you've got that power. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
I don't want to. I don't want you to think I'm really cool, but anybody in our town can do that.
Right. Also, in your community, you should be able to call an elected official.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
But that's a whole other
We
thing.
work for the people.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So they're like, wow, it's just amazing. Can we sit and talk about how you got there? Like, okay,
Sure.
I
can't
moved
really-
into the town. And I have a phone.
Yeah. Yep.
So true.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the way it works. And you can do that too, folks.
Yeah.
You don't even have to live here. You can call our
Yep.
mayor.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
He may not fly
Great.
across
You're
the
welcome, Cory.
country to have coffee with you. But
Yeah.
I mean, just an added benefit here in Great Falls. And we can't wait to see you in our fine, fine city. It's going to be a great time. We've got plenty of reasons for you to come. And if you forgot what they all are, visit greatfallsmontana.org is going to get you all the details you need, all the events that are coming up, all the fun that can be had right here in our town. So until we see your bright, smiling, happy, healthy, beautiful face in our great town, we hope you are creating amazing memories with your friends and family wherever you might be. See you soon.
We're No Dam Experts is the recorded claims from Great Falls, Montana, covering what you need to know about this amazing damn town.